This moment right here is this generation's I Am Your Father. This is up there with the Darth Vader identity reveal.
For years, Nikocado Avocado was the internet's biggest punching bag. The loud one, the chaotic one. The guy people watched not because they liked him, but because they couldn't look away. His mukbangs weren't really mukbangs anymore. They were spectacles. Performances built around how far he could push it before something cracked. And every single video, the comments said the same thing. This isn't going to end well. Then one video dropped and everybody had to delete that take, not just dial it back. Delete it. Because the second that video went up, the entire story everyone thought they were watching collapsed in real time. The narrative people had been building for years about him spiraling, falling apart, heading towards some kind of inevitable disaster, all of it suddenly didn't fit. He'd been 10 steps ahead the whole time, and nobody saw it. He literally called the video 2 steps ahead. Spoiler, it was more like 10. Even Penguin Z0, who had spent years dragging him in videos, ended up reacting to it, which tells you exactly how big this shift actually was.
Right here is this generation's I Am Your Father. This is up there with the Darth Vader identity reveal. Perhaps one of the most unexpected things I've seen in quite some time.
When the people who built careers off mocking you start giving you credit, something has fundamentally changed. And ever since that moment, things have gone quiet. Not in a bad way, not in a what happened to him way. More like the silence of someone who already got what they came for and is now slowly stepping back while the rest of the internet is still trying to figure out what just happened. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but the more I look at the timeline, the harder it gets to see this as anything other than one of the most calculated long cons in YouTube history. But to actually understand what makes this so wild, you have to rewind, because none of this came out of nowhere. Nikocado Avocado, real name Nicholas Perry, started uploading to YouTube back in 2014. And if you compare the version of him from back then to the one everyone knew at his peak, it doesn't even look like the same person. Genuinely. Different face, different energy, different brand entirely. The early days were calm, vegan content, soft-spoken videos. He played the violin on camera. There was nothing chaotic about it, nothing extreme, nothing remotely close to the Nikocado the internet would eventually meme into oblivion. He was just another guy with a camera and a niche. Then around 2016, the whole thing flipped.
I rotted a tooth. I had low B12 deficiency. My sex drive was terrible.
Really? I wondered that. Okay.
Terrible.
Wow.
I developed hypoglycemia. I don't know if it's directly related to the veganism, but I never had that before.
He stepped away from veganism, started talking about health issues he claimed the lifestyle had caused him, called the community toxic.
That video, why do vegans have to make everything about veganism? Why? There's so much more to life than veganism. Yes, it's an important cause, but when it becomes everything, you sound no different than the Mormons going door to door, knocking on the door saying, join my club.
Talked about how it had affected him personally. And from that point forward, the content didn't just shift. It escalated. Hard. The meals got bigger. The reactions got louder. The shock factor kept ramping up.
Oh, noodle. Okay.
He's very picky.
He's a very picky bird, stubborn as can be. He only wants his food hot. And I'm telling him, in the wild, out with the other birdies, you'd be eating your food off the Oh, he made no objections to come onto my finger. That was a first.
Every video felt like it was trying to top the last one. Whatever line existed in mukbang content, he was actively running past it on purpose.
Really, really good person. Like what? Why is he so good? 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 It's
And from a pure numbers perspective, it worked. The views climbed. The engagement exploded. The channel started pulling millions of views consistently. By every metric a YouTube algorithm cares about, he was winning. But the reason people were watching had quietly changed. It stopped being entertainment in any normal sense. It became something more like rubbernecking. People weren't tuning in because they enjoyed him. They were tuning in to see how much further it could possibly go. And that turned into a reputation that locked in hard. He wasn't a creator people respected. He was the cautionary tale, the example, the "don't end up like this guy" reference. Comments on his videos stopped being about the food and turned into people using him as a measuring stick for their own lives. Watching him had become a way for people to feel better about themselves. And here's the part everyone seems to skip when they tell this story. He didn't build that character alone. The audience built him too. Every cringe comment, every reaction video, every "this isn't going to end well" was another brick in the same wall he eventually walked out of. Nikocado wasn't the only one performing. The audience was performing right alongside him, and most of them never even realized they were part of the show. Then came the drama era. Constant clashes with other creators, public fallouts, the Stephanie Sue situation, always somehow circulating, always inserting himself into something. Every conflict made it look like he was losing more control by the week. The story everyone was telling about him was that this was a man visibly coming apart on camera, and the only question left was when the fall would actually happen. Nobody, and I mean nobody, was watching him and thinking strategy. Nobody was reading any of it as a long-term plan. Everyone just assumed they were watching a slow-motion crash. And then on September 7th, that video dropped, 2 steps ahead. Within minutes, the entire perception people had spent years building shattered. The physical transformation alone was enough to break the internet. The weight loss, the face, the voice.
2 steps ahead. I am always 2 steps ahead. This has been the greatest social experiment for my entire life. So I am the villain, because I've made myself one.
He looked like a completely different human. People were stitching old clips and new clips side by side, just trying to process what they were seeing. But honestly, the transformation wasn't even the main thing. It was the way he addressed the audience that hit hardest.
Today I woke up from a very long dream. And I also woke up having lost 250 pounds off of my...
He didn't speak like someone reacting to attention. He spoke like someone who had been watching this all unfold for a long, long time. Calm, composed, almost amused. Like he already knew exactly how the comments were going to go before anyone typed a single word.
For as long as I tell the internet that I am the villain, stories that permeate and linger and infect the minds of the ants, influence the ants, brainwash the ants. You are the ant.
The whole video felt like a magician walking back through the trick after it was already done. And up until that exact moment, nobody had ever considered that there might be something deeper going on. Nobody was watching his content and thinking about strategy or planning. People were just reacting in real time, assuming everything they were seeing was happening exactly as it appeared. Then that video drops, and suddenly you're forced to look at every single previous video through completely different eyes. Because if he was already losing weight behind the scenes while uploading all that older, chaotic content, then the version of him people were reacting to wasn't even current anymore. It was delayed. It was lagged. It was already obsolete by the time it hit your feed. And that one detail rewrites everything. Because now, those old videos don't look like a man losing control. They look like a man leaning into a role, pushing it harder because it works. Knowing exactly which buttons to press to keep the attention pointed at him while something completely different is happening off screen.
First of all, I was on a diet for 800 days.
Maybe I'm overthinking this, but once that idea clicks into place, you can't unsee it. This stops being a story about what he did. It becomes a story about how long he was ahead of everyone without a single person noticing. And then people started actually digging. Turns out he had reportedly pre-recorded content for nearly 2 years. 2 years. Filming a backlog while quietly going through one of the most extreme weight loss journeys ever documented online.
2 steps ahead. I am always 2 steps ahead. This has been the greatest social experiment I've come to know.
Around 250 pounds lost over more than 800 days, completely off camera, while the audience watched what they thought was a real-time spiral. So everything everyone was reacting to wasn't really happening. It was a delayed broadcast of a person who didn't exist anymore. Read that sentence twice because the implications are wild. The internet wasn't watching Nikocado Avocado fall apart. The internet was watching a recording of someone who had already started putting himself back together. The whole audience was reacting to a ghost. And he knew.
Welcome to Nikocado 2. This is my second channel, and I hope you consider subscribing because I don't even know if people like me or if they want to hear from me. I haven't made a video for like 2 years.
He absolutely knew. He even leaned into it later, talking openly about his background in theater, about how he had originally tried to break into acting in Broadway and couldn't, so he took those same performance instincts and channeled them into YouTube instead, which honestly, once you hear him say it out loud, every single old video starts making sense in a way it never did before. He pushed the point even further by dropping another video called How I Fooled the Internet, where he showed clips of himself hinting at the truth in real time.
Something I've always wanted to do. You know, you could even tell in my soliloquy, I am always 2 steps ahead. I mean, these are characters, and it's the vision I've had forever. And the whole character thing, I want to make people laugh. In case you didn't see the video on my main channel, basically, I'm an actor. I went to school for acting. I have a very long history in performance. My background is in theater. And it was my dream to be on Broadway. Whether I was acting or doing violin, I craved that theater. In the case of Broadway workers, like you get a contract for a tour or a show, and when it's over, you're unemployed again. I basically employed myself on my own terms here.
Dropping breadcrumbs in old uploads that nobody picked up on, lines that sounded chaotic and random back then, but read completely differently after the reveal. That's probably the wildest part of this whole thing. Once people realized they might have been watching a performance instead of a breakdown, it didn't just change how they viewed the content. It changed every single narrative anyone had built around him over the past decade. And there was one specific moment Nikocado himself pointed to as the actual beginning of all of it. He went back to a video from 2022 on his secondary channel where he had used almost the exact same monologue that later showed up in the big reveal. Same words, same energy, same tone, just sitting there in plain sight for over 2 years. He didn't frame it like a discovery. He framed it like, this was always here, you just weren't looking. That's the part that hit hardest, because it wasn't a sudden transformation, it was telegraphed. He had been planning, or at least thinking about this exit, way longer than anyone could have guessed. Overall, the reaction to the whole transformation was actually positive. Even Penguin Z0, who had absolutely roasted him in past videos, gave him real credit for how he handled it.
Moment right here is this generation's I am your father. This is up there with the Darth Vader identity reveal. Perhaps one of the most unexpected things I've seen in quite some time. When I was watching this, I let out an audible whoa. Like I couldn't help myself. My body responded without any other part of me having say so.
Which is rare in this corner of the internet. People don't usually walk back years of mockery for anyone. But even with the shift in how people saw him, one question kept coming up. Not whether the transformation was real, but whether it was going to last. Because extreme weight loss is one thing. Keeping it off is something completely different. There's a reason people kept bringing this up.
Made to look back on in the future because I will get healthy. I will drop pounds. I'll do a transformation. Hi, Nick. Nick of the future.
I said it would be very unique, extremely unique. I actually can't name one influencer who's gonna do what I'm.
Most dramatic transformations end in the same place they started, just a few years later. Now it's been over a year since the reveal. And so far, he hasn't gone back. If anything, he's gone the other direction even harder. Multiple surgeries throughout 2025 to remove excess skin. Facial procedures first, then a full body lift, then more refining work after that. That's not the trajectory of someone planning to slide back into old habits. That's the trajectory of someone who is locking the door behind him and burning the key.
Training, like in school, was that the actors who had to undergo like the greatest physical changes, they lost a lot of weight for their role or they gained a lot of weight, those actors tended to have the greatest impact. You know, when you watch someone on screen and you've seen them before and other stuff, you start getting that backlog of, oh yeah, I remember them from this and this and this. But when they're like physically unrecognizable, totally different people, you don't get that backlog running through your brain.
But while all that was happening, something else quietly changed too. His upload frequency on YouTube dropped through the floor. Where he used to be everywhere, constantly in your feed, posting chaotic content week after week, now it's once a month at most, sometimes even less. Part of that can be explained by recovery time and the obvious fact that he no longer has a 2-year backlog of pre-recorded videos to lean on. But part of it is just a different person making different choices. The version of Nikocado that dominated timelines and lived rent-free in the discourse isn't really around anymore. And honestly, that silence is louder than any video he could upload right now.
It's really easy for me to blur that boundary between fact and fiction, like I said, because I was physically so unwell. How do you take someone seriously or think that they're in control, when they look so out of control?
He did try to bring attention back in a few different ways, but it didn't really land like before. The meet and greet tour he announced for the middle of 2025 looked like an attempt to reconnect with the audience directly. Take the digital fame and turn it into something physical. But when the dates got closer, the whole thing got canceled, refunds went out, and people started doing the math. Reports of low ticket sales started circulating, and it became pretty obvious that the actual demand wasn't matching the online buzz. The clicks were still there. The energy of his comeback video was still in the air, but people who liked the story didn't necessarily want to spend money to meet him in person. That gap between digital attention and real-world demand is brutal, and a lot of creators have learned that lesson the hard way. Around the same time, he made another move that wasn't random at all. He went back and addressed one of the biggest controversies of his entire career, the Stephanie Sue situation. If you don't know that whole story, the original incident happened in 2019. He did a collab video with her and Zach Choi. On the surface, everything looked fine. But just days later, Stephanie posted a video accusing him of manipulating her and pressuring her behind the scenes.
I know that the full footage is not out there. He did it in a way, I don't remember his exact wording, but it was in a...
What did you want to share? Or do you change your mind now? You said you wanted to talk to your viewers with me here, because you never talked to any of your viewers.
And I just remember feeling just shocked because the way he went about it was just so, almost like an interrogation. This couple of days have been filled with just a lot of manipulation, in particular manipulating my own words against me to make me do things that I don't want to do and I don't feel comfortable doing. And a lot of Nikocado Avocado using his platform to threaten me and to bully me. At this point, my home safety is kind of in question.
At the time, it absolutely tanked his reputation. His response back then didn't really land with anyone. The damage was done, and it stuck to him for years. Coming back to that situation now, after rebuilding his entire public image, completely changed the framing. This time he approached it differently, calmer, more structured.
Sue told the internet about our real-life interaction together in a way that seemed less like a personal story and more like a true crime special.
Questioned how close they actually were.
Stephanie and I had met just one time in person before filming. One time, at a restaurant. We didn't know each other very well, we weren't close, we were just trying to break the ice before.
He argued that parts of the original story had been misrepresented, questioned how close he and Stephanie actually were, and pointed out what he believed was misleading editing in her video. He acknowledged certain things he had done, apologized for pushing topics she wasn't comfortable with, and the whole response felt measured in a way the 2019 version absolutely did not. The reaction this time was noticeably different. Not everyone agreed with him. Plenty of people still didn't buy it. But there was a real shift in how people were responding. Some viewers who had been firmly against him for years were suddenly more willing to hear his side. The discussion stopped being one-sided, the way it had been 6 years ago. That right there shows you exactly how much perception depends on timing and context. The same words from the same person land completely differently depending on which version of him is speaking. Stephanie hasn't responded to the new video. And given how much time has passed, she probably won't.
In and out of sleep.
In and out of sleep. Hopefully you can trust me now.
I do.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do.
Good. Well, Me Too movement.
Hashtag me too.
Bringing the whole thing back into the spotlight doesn't really benefit her the way it benefits him. For him, it looked like closing a chapter, addressing one of the last unresolved threads in his public story before stepping further out of the spotlight entirely.
Stephanie didn't just rely on her words to sell this story, she relied on performance. The trembling voice, the sudden tone shifts, even moments where she appeared to cry, only for the emotion to vanish seconds later. It just all felt.
Even with all of that, not everyone is buying the redemption. There's still a real group of people who think his past actions shouldn't be brushed aside, regardless of whether the chaos was a character or not. Moments like faking medical emergencies, the way relationships were portrayed in his content, those things still hit different for certain viewers, especially when you remember how massive his audience was at the time.
That
was 100% my fault. I was immature, I was unkind, I was unprofessional, I was childish, I was wrong. Stephanie, I am genuinely sorry. You were not obligated to sit and gossip with me on camera. You didn't owe me that. And I was totally out of line for reacting the way I did when you didn't show up to film.
Real kids were watching that stuff. And no amount of "it was all a performance" really cleans that up for everyone. But there's also the other camp. The people who look at this and see something completely different. They see a guy who fully understood how the attention economy works, pushed it to its absolute breaking point, then quietly stepped away the second the math stopped making sense. From that angle, the transformation isn't just about losing weight. It's about repositioning yourself in the audience's mind from villain to mastermind in one move. And that's exactly where the whole story ends up sitting, right in the middle. Depending on how you look at it, this is either one of the most complete turnarounds in YouTube history or one of the most carefully managed exits anyone has ever pulled off on this platform. He played a character so well that the character became real to everyone watching.
Turn off the camera.
What's wrong? Are you dying?
Turn off the camera.
Oh, we have to get the aspirin.
Yeah, it's pinching really bad.
Oh.
Sure.
Then he walked off stage while everyone in the audience was still buying tickets to the show. So now it comes down to you. Do you see this as an actual redemption? Or do you see it as a perfectly timed exit from someone who got every single thing he wanted out of the internet and bounced before the bill came due? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Curious where everyone lands on this one, because the split is real, and I don't think there's a clean answer. If you enjoyed the video, hit like and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one.